Emery Ross had been searching for a new place to live in Boston for weeks, scouring listings, calling realtors, scanning online ads. Between sky-high rents and cramped units, she'd grown disheartened. So when she stumbled upon a newly listed apartment, 1BR in Beacon Hill area, near transit, modest rent, she jumped on it. The pictures showed a charming old red brick building, slightly worn but brimming with that Bostonian historic feel. A phone call to the landlord set up a viewing for the very next day. She arrived on a crisp autumn afternoon, the sky a wash of gold as the sun dipped behind tall buildings. The address was 47 Sumner Street, a narrow side road just off Charles Street, known for quaint shops and cobblestone sidewalks. As she navigated, she realized how quiet the area felt. People bustled a few blocks away, but on Sumner Street, foot traffic was minimal. At last, she located the building, a 3-story red brick structure, ivy creeping up one side. The windows were tall, though a bit grimy, the steps leading up to a dark green door. A small brass plaque read 47. She double-checked the printed listing in her hand. This had to be it. She knocked. After a moment, the door opened, revealing an older man with salt and pepper hair and an air of weary politeness. "You must be Emery. I'm Mr. Pearson. Glad you found it okay." Emery smiled politely, extending her hand. The landlord's grip was faintly cold. Inside, the foyer had a faded elegance, wood paneling, an old chandelier flickering overhead. A faint musty smell, but not unpleasant, just old building character. They exchanged pleasantries as he led her up a narrow flight of stairs. The creaking steps underfoot echoed in the hush. The hallway on the second floor held 3 doors. The landlord took her to the last on the left. "Here we are, 2B, he announced, sliding a skeleton key into the lock. Emery stepped inside the apartment. Her initial impression was relief. Though small, it exuded warmth. Bay windows let in the glow of late afternoon, hardwood floors with scuffs that spoke of decades of tenants. A tiny kitchenette off to the side, a living area with a corner big enough for a small couch and TV, and a single bedroom with a battered but serviceable closet. The listing had boasted cozy, and indeed it felt so. She wandered around, tapping the walls to check for sturdiness, opening closet doors. The landlord hovered, pointing out radiator heat and the old but functional stove. She noticed the building's age in every detail, from the antique doorknobs to the chipped baseboards. Yet she found it charming, and it fit her limited budget. Peeking out the living room window, she glimpsed the street below. The view overlooked a narrow lane with an old-fashioned lamppost. Something about the lamppost's flickering bulb made her uneasy, but she shook it off. She told Mr. Pearson, "I really like this place. I'm interested." He nodded, offering a small smile. "Wonderful. Move-in is flexible. I'll need first and last month's rent, small deposit." They settled on her move-in date, tomorrow if possible. She needed a place urgently, and he seemed eager to rent. He produced a short lease form. Oddly, it lacked detailed letterhead or a management company's name. Just the address, 47 Sumner Street, and a line for signatures. She signed swiftly, ignoring the uneasy flutter in her gut. The landlord's own signature looked more like a scribble than a name, but she hardly noticed. After a quick handshake, Emery left the building, promising to return the next day with her belongings. The landlord locked the heavy front door behind her, giving a curt nod. As she strolled back down Sumner Street, a sense of relief mingled with excitement. Finally, a decent place in a prime area. She'd text her friends, share the good news. The lamppost near the corner flickered again. For a moment, she thought she saw someone watching from an upper window of 47. But when she glanced back, all curtains were drawn. Probably just Mr. Pearson. She shrugged it off and headed home. That night, she told a friend about the new apartment. Beacon Hill, near everything, old building but super cheap. The friend teased about ghosts in old Boston houses, but Emery found it amusing. She drifted to sleep imagining how she'd decorate that cozy living room. Early next day, Emery rented a small van to haul her few pieces of furniture. She eagerly drove towards Sumner Street. the crisp morning light shining. Once in the area, she quickly realized something was off. She recognized the coffee shop on the corner, the same sidewalk. But as she turned onto Sumner Street, confusion gripped her. Where's the building? She parked halfway down the block. The building at 47 Sumner Street was supposed to be mid-block, 3 stories of red brick. But in its place, she saw a vacant lot with a chain-link fence. Overgrown weeds, a couple of battered signs reading "No Trespassing," and scattered debris. Not a building in sight. Disbelief swelled. Is this the wrong street? She rechecked the cross-street sign. Sumner. Yes, this was correct. She walked the length of the block. Each building had addresses: 45, 49, 51, but 47 was missing. Her phone's GPS insisted 47 Sumner Street should be where that vacant lot stood. Her heart pounded. She found an older man walking a dog and asked, "Excuse me, do you know if a building at 47 Sumner was torn down recently?" The man gave her a puzzled look. "That place has been empty for decades. Used to be an old warehouse, I think."
"No apartments there," he shrugged, continuing on.
She stood stunned. "But I was inside it less than 24 hours ago." She tried the chain-link gate, locked with a rusted padlock. A sign indicated "Property of the City." She peered through, seeing only weeds and concrete rubble. The land looked deserted, as if no structure had stood for years. Panicking, she pulled out the number Mr. Pearson had given, the one she'd called just yesterday to arrange the viewing. She dialed. The phone rang, then a click. A voice, an older woman's, answered, "Hello?" "Hi, I'm trying to reach Mr. Pearson about an apartment at 47 Sumner Street." Emery's voice shook. A brief silence. Then the woman said, "I'm sorry, who?" Emery repeated, "Mr. Pearson? He's the landlord for the building at 47 Sumner. I signed a lease with him." The woman let out a confused chuckle. "I've had this number for 20 years. There's no Mr. Pearson here. And that address, that building hasn't been there for years, dear." Emery's throat went dry. "But I just saw him yesterday." The woman sighed sympathetically. "I think you've been scammed, hun. Check your references." Then she hung up. Emery stared at her phone, dread washing over her. A scam? But the building physically existed. She was inside it. She stood on the sidewalk, mind racing, ignoring passers-by. She asked a few locals about 47 Sumner, but nobody recalled a red brick building there. A middle-aged shopkeeper insisted that lot had been empty since a major fire decades ago. No apartments, no occupant. Desperate, Emery tried the local library's historical archives. The librarian helped her pull up old property records for Sumner Street. Indeed, a building had once stood on that lot, an early 1900 structure. But it burned down in 1972, leaving only an empty lot. No official rebuild or recent developments. She found a newspaper headline from that year. "Tragic Beacon Hill Fire Claims Historic Building. No Survivors." Shaky-limbed, Emery read about how the entire structure was consumed by flames. She recalled stepping on those antique floors, meeting the landlord in that hallway. Impossible. She tried describing the building to the librarian, who just gave her a puzzled expression. The librarian mentioned rumors of a ghost building, occasionally reported by locals over the years, but those were chalked up to urban legends. Grasping at straws, Emery rummaged in her purse. She found the crumpled lease she'd signed. The paper looked older now, as though it had yellowed overnight. The typed text was slightly blurred, the font style reminiscent of an ancient typewriter. Even more disturbing, the landlord's signature seemed to fade, half unreadable. The address line was missing some letters, as though disintegrating. Her stomach lurched. No legitimate landlord would vanish and leave no trace. This is beyond any normal scam. She half expected the paper to crumble to dust. As she walked away from the library, her mind replayed glimpses of the building, the dim hallway lighting, the antique doorknobs, the windows. She realized the walls had been oddly pristine in some places, blackened in others. Had she seen scorch marks? The faint smell of soot? She tried to recall if she dismissed them as normal old building quirks. The memory of Mr. Pearson was also growing fuzzy. She recalled his salt and pepper hair, but not his eye color. She couldn't remember if he'd blinked or seemed off. Did his voice echo strangely in those corridors? She felt a sick chill. Perhaps she'd stepped into something intangible, a place that shouldn't exist. That night, Emery refused to go home. She was too unsettled. She crashed at a friend's apartment, explaining only that her new place fell through. The friend teased her about weird Boston ghost stories, but Emery was in no mood for jokes. She dreamt of 47 Sumner Street, the front door opening into a blackened corridor, cinders drifting from the ceiling, ghostly tenants drifting among swirling ashes. She jolted awake in a sweat, the echo of Mr. Pearson's voice in her mind. Move in tomorrow. Despite terror, Emery felt a compulsion to revisit the location. The next morning, she mustered courage. She arrived early, the city bustle overshadowed by her pounding heart. She found the same chain-link fence around the vacant lot. Ugly weeds sprouted from cracks. No sign of that heavy green door, no steps leading up. She walked the perimeter, searching for any trace, maybe a hidden side entrance? She found only rubble, broken bricks. Then, behind an overgrown bush, she spotted a piece of wood that looked like a charred window frame. Her breath caught. She recognized the shape, like the frame from the living room's bay window. She knelt, touching the scorched wood. It crumbled under her fingers. A wave of sorrow and dread overcame her. She had no illusions left. Some entity or phenomenon had let her step into that burned building's echo, a building that physically no longer existed. While standing there, she sensed movement at the edge of her vision, someone in ragged clothes stepping behind the fence. She spun, glimpsing a gaunt figure vanish behind a rusted metal slab. She called out, "Hello?" No response. She circled the fence corner, only to find the spot deserted. But footprints in the dirt suggested someone had stood there. The ghostly feeling of watchers grew. She felt an urge to leave, but also an inexplicable draw to remain. She half expected Mr. Pearson to appear from behind the chain link, leading her once more into that dimension. On. She tried neighbors on the next block, inquiring about the building. Some had heard rumors it was haunted ground, that occasionally someone sees the old building reappear, but they dismissed it as myth. Others claimed odd illusions at night. An elderly woman recalled hearing about a Pearson family that lived in that building many decades ago, but they died in the fire. If that was the same name, it was an eerie coincidence. The conversation left Emery shaken. In desperation, Emery attempted the landlord's phone number again. This time, it rang to a dull, "number not in service" message. Not even the older woman's voice. The phone record on her call log from the previous day, somehow it had changed to "private number." She felt cold dread. She scrolled through her photos, hoping she'd taken any snapshot of the apartment. She found none. Possibly she forgot in her excitement. Or maybe they vanished if she had taken them. The emptiness of her camera roll felt like a final condemnation of reality. In the days that followed, Emery found herself haunted by fleeting images. The living room's worn floor, the battered stove, the dusty corners. She'd blink, seeing them superimposed on her real surroundings. Nightmares returned, featuring smoldering doorways and black smoke curling in the hallway. She started hearing floor creaks in her friend's place, reminiscent of the apartment. She sought out mediums or anyone who studied paranormal phenomena. One obscure historian she contacted suggested she might have stumbled into a temporal echo, a place locked between time and memory, anchored by strong emotional residue. A catastrophic fire, perhaps, left an imprint that occasionally manifested. People stepping into it risked entrapment. It wasn't a comforting explanation, but it resonated with her experience. She eventually uncovered an old newspaper clipping from 1972 about the Sumner Street fire. It listed the victims, including a landlord named Harold Pearson, who had multiple tenants. All perished. The building collapsed that same night. The article included a blurred black and white photo of the building's facade, familiar to a chilling degree. Mr. Pearson's face in the archive photo resembled the man she met. The same salt and pepper hair, same weary expression. Realizing she'd shaken hands with a ghost or echo of a dead man left her reeling. Emery fell into a mild depression, wrestling with the impossibility of it all. She'd come so close to moving into a building that hadn't existed for half a century. The notion of what would have happened if she'd stayed the night there haunted her. Would she have awakened in flames, disappeared from the present entirely? She told no one the full story, fearing disbelief. She tried forging ahead with her life, renting a normal apartment in Cambridge eventually. But in quiet moments, her mind drifted to that door at 47 Sumner Street, the step that led into a corridor of the past or a spectral realm. Over the next few months, Emery occasionally revisited Sumner Street, standing across from the vacant lot, observing it. She never saw any sign of the building remanifesting. The lot remained overgrown, the chain-link fence rusted. Yet each time she visited, she felt watched, as though Mr. Pearson or the building's spirits hovered at the edges of perception. She'd stand there at twilight, half expecting the building's outline to flicker into existence, the warm glow in the windows. But she always left disappointed, or perhaps relieved. No reappearance, at least not for her. One evening, after finishing a late shift, she checked local news. A small headline read, "Mysterious disappearance on Sumner Street. Tourist lost in vacant lot." The story told of a European traveler who claimed to see an apartment building, tried to enter, and then vanished. The police found only footprints leading to the fence, then stopping. The traveler's phone was discovered outside, showing a final text, "I see building, going inside to meet landlord." Emery felt her blood run cold. It was repeating, others being lured. She realized that building might appear again for unsuspecting individuals, offering cheap rent or ghostly illusions. And each time, the occupant might vanish permanently, lost to the fire's echo or some nether realm. Emery typed up her experiences in a personal blog, but never published it, worried about her sanity. Ultimately, she resigned herself to living with the memory. She carried the lease form in a sealed envelope, the fading ink a testament to her brush with the impossible. Years later, if she found herself near Beacon Hill, she'd wander a few blocks to peer at Sumner Street from afar. The chain-link fence still stood. She prayed no building would reappear before her eyes, no sign of Mr. Pearson waiting with a key. In hushed nightmares, she still hears him say, "Move in tomorrow," as a swirl of ghostly flames consumes the corridor. She wonders how many more might stumble upon that phantom advertisement, that ephemeral door, lured by the promise of an affordable home in the heart of Boston. Because once you step inside the apartment that doesn't exist, your lease might bind you not just to a place, but to a tragedy forever repeating in shadowy folds of time. And if you do see a quaint old brick building at 47 Sumner Street, consider turning away. Because some addresses vanished years ago, and every so often they reappear only to claim a new tenant, one who joins the ghosts left behind when the building breathes. Earned. The next day, the building and occupant vanish, leaving behind only a rumor, the apartment that disappeared.